Today, we're diving into something that's essential for any street photographer looking to take their work to the next level. And that's the power of crafting a narrative by shooting in the same place repeatedly. Let's get into it. First off, let me apologise for not being around for so long. My friend got sick and was in hospital for longer than they were supposed to be. Our dog, who was old and had dementia, unfortunately died. And on top of this, I smacked my leg on a wooden chest and have been out of action for quite a long time. Unfortunately, life gets in the way. But I'm pleased to be back and I'm looking forward to sharing my knowledge with you guys. So let's get back right into it. Whether you're just starting out or you've been shooting for years, understanding how to tell a story through your images can truly set your work apart. I've had the privilege of exploring the same locations time and time again, and what I've discovered is that this approach not only helps in capturing better photos, but also in creating a cohesive story that can resonate with your viewers. So in this video, we'll look at the importance of crafting a narrative in your street photography, the role of lighting, choosing and understanding your subjects, and much more. So let's jump right in. So what is a narrative in the context of street photography? Well, it's essentially a story that you tell through a series of your photos. It's more than just a collection of good shots. It's about creating a connection between those shots. It's something that draws your viewers in and makes them feel like that they're part of the scene. Shooting in the same place over time is one of the best ways to build this kind of narrative. By returning to the same location, you start to notice the small details, the changes, the patterns. You become more attuned to the rhythm of the place, how it breathes, how it changes with the seasons, plus also how people change with the seasons, how people change on a day-to-day basis, and also how the light shifts throughout the day. Plus, by shooting at night, you'll notice that your location takes on a completely different vibe. Using your camera to document these changes allows you to dig deeper into the story of the place. Rather than just capturing isolated moments, you start to see how these moments connect and how they build on each other to create a larger, more meaningful story. So how do you take these individual moments and craft them into a cohesive series? Well, it starts with identifying a theme. Maybe it's the daily routines of people in a particular neighborhood, or perhaps how light and shadow play off the buildings and hit your subjects at different times of the day. Once you have a theme in mind, it's all about consistency. Consistency in composition, in your approach, and in your editing style. When you're sequencing your images, whether for a portfolio, a gallery, or just your own satisfaction, think about how each photo leads into the next. You want your viewer to feel like that they're on a journey, moving through the story that you've created, with each image adding another layer to the narrative. For instance, not only do I use the same preset on my Barbican photos, I'm also slowly creating a zine where I have mapped out a route from the entry point of the estate, and I'm documenting each walkway from the route that I take when I go for a shooting session in the Barbican. I generally wait for one solitary person to hit the different routes so that I can create a sense of loneliness through my work in this huge architectural expanse. So having a particular order for your images and thinking about the theme that you want to create with your projects helps to give your work layers and a deeper meaning that your viewers can discover when they look at your photos. Just a quick one. Please can you give this video a like, and if you haven't already, I'd be obliged if you could hit that subscribe button for more in-depth tutorials and tips. Thank you very much. Lighting plays a huge role in narrative creation. The same place can look entirely different depending upon the time of day or the weather conditions, and that's something that you can use to your advantage. For instance, shooting under harsh midday sunlight can create strong contrasts and shadows, giving your story a more dramatic and edgy feel, whereas shooting in overcast or miserable conditions can create more of a bleak, somber vibe. And shooting at night gives your photos a completely different vibe. Plus, by revisiting the location at different times, you can capture a range of moods that contribute to the overall narrative of your work. Maybe in the morning, the place that you're visiting is quiet and peaceful, but by afternoon, it's bustling with activity. These variations in lighting and timing can help you tell a more complete and dynamic story. I found that the best time to hit Brighton Pier is when there are very little clouds in the sky, so that the sunlight casts strong shadows on the wooden planks. If these shots were taken on an overcast day, I think that there would be very little point to them. Shooting these architectural details without any subjects in them, in my opinion, work because that the shadows are the subjects of these images, and they add an extra layer of detail that is needed to make them more interesting. One of the biggest benefits of shooting in the same place is that you start to notice recurring characters or elements. Maybe it's a street vendor who was always on the same market stall, or even a building that catches the light in a particular way at a certain time of day. These become the key subjects of your narrative. By focusing on them, you're not just documenting a place, you're telling the story of the people and the elements that give the place its character. As you build familiarity with your subjects, you might even find that you notice different quirks about their personalities or their dress sense. It's up to you if you want to interact with them or not, depending upon what kind of person that you are. But noticing things about regular subjects can lead to more intimate and powerful images. The more you understand your subjects, the better you can capture their essence and incorporate them into your photographic narrative. Brighton is such a quirky town, and this is reflected in the kind of people that are on the streets and are working on the market stalls. What I have found by shooting here over a number of months is that I've been able to build up a project capturing the hustle and bustle of all of these characters, and I know that you can also achieve this by repeatedly visiting a specific location that you find interesting and where you know interesting characters are. As you continue to shoot in the same place, you'll notice that your narrative will start to evolve. Your perspective might change, and you might start to see new angles and themes that you didn't notice before. Maybe you might try focusing on reflections or shooting juxtapositions. Maybe you might try shooting with different camera settings, such as shooting with slower shutter speeds to potentially blur your subjects, or maybe your editing style changes. It's all part of that fun and insightful process that's completely yours. I've noticed that the more time you spend in a particular location, the more layers of the story that you uncover. So don't be afraid to adapt your approach as you go. Perhaps the story that you set out to tell isn't the one that you end up with, and that's okay. One thing that I've noticed from shooting at night time in my hometown of Rye and in Brighton is that the vibe is so different than shooting in the daytime, especially as the weather gets colder, when there's less people about and men don't wear shorts. Street life, I think, is much more atmospheric at night time, and I also think that you will notice this by shooting a specific area during the daytime and then at night time. I think that having daytime and nighttime images in your portfolio that you can use as a project will create an interesting and insightful series that showcases the juxtaposition of a particular place and its inhabitants during the daytime and then during the nighttime. So, how can you start crafting your own narrative in your photography? Here are a few practical tips. Choose a location, start with one that resonates with you. The key is to pick somewhere that you can revisit. Spend time observing before you start shooting. Look for patterns, interesting characters, and unique features of this location. Then shoot at different times of the day and think about the story that you want to tell. Use consistent camera settings and editing styles to maintain a cohesive look throughout your images. This consistency will only help strengthen your narrative. Building a narrative takes time, so don't rush the process. Allow the story to unfold naturally as you continue to shoot. Keep an open mind. Be open to the story that's evolving as you go. You might start with one idea and end up with something that's completely different. And that is where the magic happens. If you've got any questions or you're already working on something similar, please let us know down below. To wrap things up, crafting a narrative by shooting in the same place can transform your street photography from a series of isolated images into a compelling project. By focusing on storytelling, lighting, and understanding your subjects, you can create photography that deeply resonates with your viewers. However, if you want to learn how using the compositional technique of frames can help level up your street photography, then check out this video here. Until we meet again, go forth and create.